Scary, true, rainy night. Horror stories. Part 1. The Closet. This happened when I was really young, maybe second or third grade. The memory is fuzzy, but this one night has stayed with me for reasons you'll understand soon. It was pouring rain, the kind that pounds against windows like it's trying to get in. My parents picked me up from school, dropped me off at home, and left for some upscale event. A fundraiser, maybe a dinner party. I can't recall. They planned to come home that night, but the storm got so violent that they had to stay over at a friend's house closer to the city. They called to apologize for leaving me alone, even though I said I was fine. My mom rattled off a list of bedtime instructions. Lock the doors and windows, close the blinds, leave one light on. Standard stuff. I was excited to be home alone. No bedtime, unlimited candy, and the big living room TV. I stayed up watching cartoons until the sugar crash hit and I passed out on the couch. Hours later, I woke up freezing. The temperature had dropped drastically. I remembered my mom's list and groggily did a lap of the house. Doors locked, windows closed, blinds drawn. Everything looked fine, but it still felt cold, like something unseen had crept in with the storm. I trudged upstairs. My room was freezing. The storm was relentless now. Lightning cracked, thunder bellowed, and the rain screamed against the window. I lay in bed, eyes wide, picking up on faint creaks and groans in the house. It sounded like wood shifting, but the entire upstairs was carpeted. Then, in one lightning flash, I saw the closet door. Open, just slightly. It had been shut. I was sure of it. Something had opened it. I didn't scream, didn't breathe. I slid silently out of bed and made my way to the hallway, each step feeling like it took hours. I ended up under the dining room table, heart racing. And that's when I heard footsteps, erratic, heavy, like someone stumbling down the stairs. I held my breath. Two muddy, yellow-tinted legs stepped into view, cut and scraped. Filthy. Then they dropped something. Metal clanged against the floor. A wrench. I nearly screamed. The figure just stood there, waiting, listening. Then slowly, it wandered off. I stayed hidden for what felt like hours, before finally making it back upstairs at dawn. I never told my parents until years later, but I still sleep with a nightlight.
Part 2. The Thing in the Road. I was 15 when this happened. Another rainy night. I couldn't sleep. The downpour made everything worse, echoing inside my skull. I have a long list of conditions: panic attacks, fainting spells, insomnia, and complete silence is the only way I can sleep. So I decided to walk it off. Just a short stroll around the park. I didn't bring my phone, just a raincoat and my thoughts. The rain soaked me, but I didn't mind. Nature always calmed me down. Until I saw it, lying in the road. At first, I thought it was a trash bag, but no. It was a person, face down, unmoving. Something inside me said turn back, but I didn't listen. As I got closer, the air grew colder. Then a screech, a howl, animalistic, but wrong, twisted. I turned to look, nothing. And when I turned back, the body had moved, now sitting up, staring at me. He stood and charged, sprinting at me with a twisted grin and a knife in his hand. I ran like I've never run before, through wet grass, mud, trees. I didn't want to lead him to my house, so I cut into the forest, dodging trees, branches slapping my face. The howling returned, closer. I hid behind a tree, barely breathing. I waited and waited. Eventually, I took the long way back, arriving home soaked, shaking, heart racing. I never saw him again, Never heard anything on the news, but sometimes in the rain, I think I hear that screech, and I lock every door twice.
Part 3. The Man by the River. I'm 29 now, and camping has always been my escape. But this trip, this one changed everything. I had just broken up with my ex. I needed silence, space, and solitude. I drove hours into the wilderness, past dirt roads and rivers, to a hidden spot I'd only visited once before. 2 trucks were already there. That uneasy feeling hit me, but I pushed on. I found a spot deep in the brush and set up camp. On my way in, I passed 2 bearded men who gave me odd stares, when quickly covered something with a jacket and said they were just shooting cans. It didn't sit right with me. Later, while I sat by the river, one of them spotted me. He waved, asked for my name. Stupidly, I told him. Then he pulled out a camera and took a photo of me. No smile, no explanation, just turned and left. That night, I heard footsteps around my tent. Deliberate, circling. I grabbed my gun and flashlight, stepped out into the rain. My beam caught him, hiding behind a tree, blank expression. In his hand, a small axe. He didn't speak. I raised my gun and warned him. He mumbled something about his friend Ivan and that he had to take care of him. Then I fired into the trees. He flinched. I made him drop the axe, strip his shoes, and throw my gear in the open. I packed fast and forced him to walk the opposite way. I threw his shoes into the woods and hiked for miles through the dark. I reached my truck, threw my gear in, and drove until I had service. I called the police. To this day, I don't know what happened to Ivan, but I don't camp alone anymore.
Part 4. The Basement House. It started with an email, a real estate alert about a foreclosure, a dirt cheap house in a storm-prone area, up for auction with no reserve. I wasn't looking to buy, but the photos were strange. Only exterior shots, none from inside. I clicked on the address. It was barely 30 minutes from my city. I figured, why not check it out? Curiosity can be a curse. It was raining when I drove out there, of course. The neighborhood had long been forgotten. Weeds strangled sidewalks. All the houses looked like they were sagging inward, trying to vanish into the earth. The house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac, isolated. The lawn was a swamp, and vines crawled up the sides like fingers. The windows were blacked out, painted from the inside. The front door wasn't even locked. I pushed it open and stepped in. The air hit me like a fist. Thick, moldy, wet. I gagged and covered my nose. The living room was coated in filth. Furniture, but all wrong, like someone had tried to arrange it as they remembered it, not how it actually fit. Every chair faced a wall. And then I saw the stairs going down. The basement door was ajar, not wide open, just enough. It looked freshly scratched. I mean, deep gouges along the wood, like someone had clawed their way out. I told myself to leave, but something drew me down. The light switch didn't work, so I used my phone flashlight. Each step creaked louder than the last. At the bottom, silence. Not basement silence. Deafening silence. No dripping, no wind, like sound itself had died. The space was huge, wider than it should have been. I shined the light around. Dirt floor, wood pillars. Then I saw a shape, a figure, standing, in the corner. I froze. My light flickered, but the figure didn't move, but it was staring. I could feel it. My brain screamed to run, but my body was frozen. Then it stepped forward. Slow. Deliberate.
It whispered something, but the words were warped, wet, like it spoke through water. I ran. I didn't look back. I flew up the stairs and slammed the door. But the house had changed. The chairs were all facing the basement door now, and there was something on the floor, scratched into the wood. Welcome home. I didn't remember how I got outside. The rain pounded me, but I didn't care. I drove off and never looked back. The listing disappeared the next day. No trace. Not even on the map. Sometimes in the rain, I dream of that basement. And I wake up to wet footprints by my bed.